So in today's world, we often talk about sustainability, or a lot of protest you will see happening around climate change. So I'm going to talk about something very different, but also to give you a very new perspective when it comes to climate change, and also to understand that how we can address our actions in such a way that the entire outcome towards climate change changes. Now, just to give an understanding, just imagine a world where there is a proper air in terms of air quality for you to breathe. Now imagine enough high qualitative soil which gives the nutrients to your plants and trees. And thirdly, enough water for us to fulfill our necessities. But before we get to the solutions and get to the understanding of the overall concept, I would like you to run through a couple of pictures here. This is a picture from a typhoon which came in Philippines, and look at the amount of people got affected, which is 5,78,000. Now this is a picture from India, and look at the amount of lives got impacted and affected in Nepal and India because of the floods. Now we often try to talk about understanding climate change, but it is also important to know the outcome, why, what and how of it. Now what I did is I tried collecting data, because fact is a fact, right? And then hypothesis is a hypothesis. So when we look at the last 20 hottest years for this planet, so 19 came in last 20 years itself. So if you look at 1998, apart from that, whatever has happened to the planet has happened post that, and that is a serious threat for us to address. Now, if you look at the number 6.61 million, so this is the number of the amount of people we have lost to COVID-19. And the reason why I'm connecting this is because whenever we talk about climate change, we often associate it to the planet. Now, what I mean is, let's first understand what is climate change. Very simply, if I put forward, the rise in average surface temperature on Earth is called climate change. So you may say, how is it different from weather? It is very simple that if, let's say, today is 40 degrees and suddenly it is 38, 36, that is not a climate change. But every year if you see that the temperature on the planet is increasing by any proportionate amount over the years, that is something which could be considered as climate change. Now, quickly talking about lot of organizations, lot of government bodies, lot of political groups, be it called COP, COI, all these organizations, they often talk about climate change. But what is still important to talk and address, that if we all are putting so much of efforts and energy, then why are we failing? So in order to understand, I will take you back to your school days. So whenever you go back to any kind of competition, if you recall the days when you used to make posters in your schools, we often used to write, there is no planet B. We need to save Earth. We need to take care of Mother Nature, right? And I believe that is where the fundamental problem is. Because we associate climate or climate change as a problem for the Earth and not for us. Look at our response time and our efforts when it came to fighting COVID-19. That is why I brought the number 6.61 million. And you will be surprised if you go and research about the number in terms of the lives we have lost due to climate change is going to be much more bigger multiplier for you to understand. Now, what I'm talking about is that we need to change the narrative. When it was COVID, it was like a cancer. That if we do not take an action now, we will not be alive. And we need to address and we need to accept the fact that as humans, we are the most selfish species on this planet at least. And that is where if we shift the momentum, and what I mean by the philosophy here is that if we start addressing that climate change is not a planet problem, it is a human problem, that is where a lot more change is going to come. And that is something I'm talking about, because at the end, if we look at the planet, irrespective of our actions, planet will survive. Be it lesser water, be it unhealthy air, be it no soil, be it no plant, earth will be there. What will not exist is our species, and that is something we need to start worrying about. Now, so this is the one aspect. Second, you may say, then what is the another bigger problem? If we all are contributing and we are putting so much of resources, be it manpower, be it money, be it lobbies, still not happening. So I would say, as humans, we often like to measure. If you look at the way, let's say we work on our body, if I want to be fit, I'm going to see the calorie deficit, how much intake I'm taking, how much calories I'm burning while I work out, right? And you know, okay, I am measuring, I am, let's say, 80 kgs and I want to go to 70, I have to put XYZ effort to get there. Now, if I ask you to imply the same philosophy of climate change, you may not have the answer. So this is a small experiment ran at Manhattan Square, New York, and what they did is they have placed a real timer clock where people who are walking around could see how much time is actually left in terms of next 2-degree rise on this planet. And this is as per last year, which is 7 years, 103 days, and then the time. So I would say, if we fix these two elements, first, the philosophy that climate change is a human problem and not anymore a planet problem, and number two, if we bring in certain metrics where we can measure all our actions, whatever we are executing, it is going to change a lot more game when it comes to climate change. Now, enough of the problems. Let's talk about how do we solve it, because I believe that once you are here in the room or those who are watching the video, it is important that you just do not talk about the problem, because I believe most of us understand the problem, most of us are aware about it. But when it comes to call to action, either we do not know what to do or we do not know how to get there. And that is something I'm going to talk in terms of the solutions. Now look at this pie chart, and you can see this is the waste composition data as per the Indian background or scenario. And this is something I'm majorly talking about rural and semi-urban areas, which is 58% of organic waste we produce at individual household level, or you can say as per capita. And the second is 15%, which is paper, and the rest is the smaller portions. Now, what I'm proposing is that if you can battle that major 58%, it will become a lot easier for planet to figure out the other areas, or to budding entrepreneurs to figure out what problems they can solve in order to create a sustainable venture out of it. Now, to give you more understanding, what I did is I made a table where you can see different materials on one side and you can see the amount of time they take to degrade on the other side. Now, if you look at the elements which takes less than 6 months are either paper or fruit vegetable peels or your food waste, which means this is what I'm talking about is the major chunk, which is 58% and the 13%. And just imagine that this something is we can get rid of within 6 months of the time when we are producing it. Rest is going to take time. So what I'm saying is that you recycle or you create solutions to tackle the majority of waste we are generating, and for the lesser one, we have to find the other ways either to reduce, to refuse, or to reuse. Now, so we often talk about that. A lot of time people come to me and they say, tell me 1, 2, 3 things to start with. And that is where I would say, I'll give you in such a way that you can visualize and you can connect the kind of numbers I'm talking about. Because for me, trust me, millions, billions, it looks good on paper, but I'm unable to visualize how big that number is when it comes to, let's say, waste or the quantity and things like that. Money I definitely do, not denying. So now coming to the first solution. So all of us use one thing every day, which is a toothbrush. And most of us use a plastic toothbrush. So what I did is I tried researching a couple of studies and I came to a conclusion that the amount of toothbrush waste we generate as a global population, which is I'm talking about 8.0 billion people now, is equivalent to the weight of 22 Statue of Liberty. So just imagine one Statue of Liberty and multiply by 22, that's the weight, and that's the quantum I'm talking about, the amount of waste we generate for Earth to figure out what to do with it. So what I'm saying is that find out ways to move to sustainable alternative, be it bamboo and be it other long-term solutions when it comes to, let's say, plastic as well. So there are a lot of now electric toothbrushes are out there. So what I'm proposing is that as a consumer, we need to be responsible for taking action on our own carbon footprint which we are generating. Number two, we often go out to eat or to have a coffee, and you, on the another side, you often see a lot of stories that plastic landing up in an ocean or to a landfill and things like that. Now what happens to that plastic is also something you know, that they do not go anywhere. If you look back the table I shared. Now what I'm proposing is that whenever you walk out to eat, carry your own cutlery, be it a stainless steel straw, the other cutlery required, or even let's say a stainless steel glass to be an alternative for disposal you consume, because nowadays microplastic is anyways going to your body. So this way what is going to happen is you're going to lead by an example that you are yourself a sustainable human being. Number two, the people who are going out with you, they are going to feel that guilt that this guy, this individual, this woman is actually doing something for the nature. I think I should start acting now. And number third, people who are around you, just imagine 3 people or 4 people just looking at you, maybe for just as coincidence, and they feel that inspiration that they need to do something for the planet or for themselves. So simply talking about 3 solutions that start to compost your food waste, because that is 58%. Number 2, carry a bamboo toothbrush for yourself and wherever you travel, and ensure that you're using that. So we are reducing that 22 Statue of Liberties. And number 3 is carry your own sustainable cutlery so that you inspire not just yourself, people around, but also the waiters who are serving you. So they know that you're going to say no for it. A lot of time you may say that how does it matter, it's just me. Just imagine 8 billion people going out to have a coffee once a month. That is 8 billion paper straws, or let's say plastic straws. And imagine if all of them start to use something sustainable, we are reducing 8 billion straws of plastic going to oceans. And that's the kind of impact we can maximize if we start to act in synchronization. In order to conclude, I would say we all are stories. Whosoever I am right now at this moment, I'm a reflection of choices I made in my past. And if you look at the planet, it is an outcome of the choices all of us made for the planet. Now what is important is either you're part of the solution or you're going to be part of the problem. And I'll leave you with this thought that just imagine what kind of world you would like to create for your future generations to come in and to experience. And remember, whatever you do, every single action matters, and it is going to be counted for our generations to see. I wish we all take a collective action in order to be sustainable human being ourselves, in order to start this revolution for climate change to reverse. Thank you very much.